Okay, this is going to be my thoughts on the Kayfun 4 clone. This particular version was from Tobecco. I'm not going to go super into detail about its functions and taking it apart and all that, because there are already videos that do that, and I don't want to get into that. Basically, I want to just talk about reasons why I don't like it and why I will be getting another tank to replace it. So, I've had this tank for a while now, so it's not like I haven't used it and tried to work with it. I actually got it for, I had my dad in mind for this tank because it's supposed to be able to be refilled very easily, and that's something that's very important to him because he doesn't like fiddling with, you know, fill screws and all that other stuff. And he's coming from the Pro tank, which is pretty easy to fill and all that, so he wanted something as close to that as possible. And the sub tank would have been perfect, but considering what he was using at the time as a device, it wouldn't have worked because he was using a Provari, and the sub tank is meant for really sub-ohming, and even though it does have the rebuildable function, I just didn't think it was suitable for him at the time. However, that is when I ended up getting him because I could tell almost instantly that he wouldn't like this because it's so not complicated, but involved. There's a lot of twerks, I don't know if that's quirks to it. So anyway, today at work I was using it, and mind you, this isn't a new coil, and it wasn't a new tank, it wasn't a new wick, everything that I have been using for at least a couple days, so it's not that it shouldn't have been wicked properly. Like, there's no reason I should have gotten a dry hit, but I did. It was the first pull from it. It was just incredibly dry, and that was pretty much when I was just like, you know what, I've had enough of it. So I haven't looked at it yet. I wanted to kind of save it for the camera, but I don't know, something happened. So this little chimney thing comes off. It's like a little bell, and then you have like typical Kayfun-ish sleeve right there, and that also comes off, and then you have your coil. I will say that the build deck is not very difficult, especially since it has 4 different screws that you can use. Now, it's not meant for dual coils, even though you can use it for that. The 4-post configuration is just meant for easy building, and it really does help because I did use like adjacent screws. See, that's really weird. You can look at my wick, and it's not burnt at all, so I have no idea why I got such a burnt hit from it. It's really, really strange. The coil does look a little bit charred, but I don't know, that's really, really weird. I don't know, but that's what the deck looks like. I mean, it's kind of a small deck, so it's not like the easiest to build on, but it's definitely not bad as far as just being able to build the coil. Dual coils on it, I haven't tried because I really don't like dual coils, to be honest, and I just think it would make something complicated when it really shouldn't be. Now, the biggest issue I had with this thing was just its inconsistent nature. When it works pretty well. Like, the flavor's decent. I've never had a legitimate Kayfun just because, honestly, I can't justify paying as much as they retail for, so I can't compare it to that. But when it was working properly, the flavor was good. It's kind of hard to compare it to other tanks because, you know, I have my Limo as well, which I'll be doing a review probably after this, but I don't know, I like my Limo better than this, to be honest, but I think it's because it has better airflow on the Limo, and I haven't had the issues that I have with this with the Limo. So basically, part of the inconsistent problems or whatever, or what's causing the inconsistent problems, is the juice flow control, which is like where this little kind of like, I don't know that that would be considered knurling, but it's where it's like textured, I guess. This, when you move it, because you're supposed to like close off and open it up and all this other crap when you're refilling your juice or whatever. It looks like this tank is like pretty screwed too. And this is another issue I was having, is sometimes it would lock. Like you wouldn't be able to move it, but now that I have it, because I want you to be able to see what happens. This little, it's right here, like by where the top of the threading is. When you screw it, make sure I'm screwing it the right way. And I never did get the hang of this stupid juice flow crap. But anyway, you should be able to see that this part is raising up. And eventually, what it'll do is actually be able to like come off. And that's like where your screw is, like, or the spring is. And why there's a spring there, I don't know. But yeah, it just like, it's got like the spring in there, and this just sits into here, and then when you screw it, it just kind of, you can see that gap right there. It just starts to, you know, disappear because it's lowering. And what that's supposed to do is open and close the juice flow control and give you adjustability and how much juice goes into there. And then when you're filling it, you're supposed to close it down and then fill it and then open it back up. Anytime I would try to do that, I would get flooding no matter what I did. So what I ended up doing is just leaving the juice flow control thing closed all the time. And that actually solved the issue with the leaking. But I'm just kind of like over it. Like, I'm over the fiddliness. When I was using my dad's sub tank, because I used it to make sure that there wasn't going to be any issues like there was with this thing, that way I could like let him know, or even know off the hang, because I know what my dad's preferences are by now, so I knew whether or not he would like it or not. And yeah, the sub tank, I had no issues at all. It was so easy to use. Even the rebuildable part is just a breeze. And I'm going to have a review on that as well. But considering that the fact that my dad has it and it was his or whatever, I'm actually going to buy myself one, and it's going to replace this thing, because I'm done messing with it. It's just, okay, my work, I have to drive. So, and that's mainly when I vape, is like in my car. So when I'm out on the road and all that, I don't want to be messing with the tank and have to worry about if I'm going to get a dry hit, or if it's going to be leaking, or, you know, any of that. I don't want to deal with it. And dripping is not really feasible either, because, I mean, obvious kind of safety issues. Plus, I'm just not really big on dripping to begin with. So, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. And when I had the sub tank, I had no issues at all. It was just so easy and consistent, and my dad's been using it for a couple weeks now and having no issues. So yeah, like I said, it's not poor quality. I mean, the threading is not the greatest, but I don't think it's bad. And like, it comes with a lot of stuff. Like, this is the polycarbonate, and you can see it's kind of foggy. I'm not really sure why, but I did have like a blueberry e-liquid in here, so I don't know if that was why. But it comes with a glass portion, but that's even more complicated to take apart and all that. There's like 2 or 3 extra pieces you have to use in order for it to work that way, and it's just a pain. And I don't know, it's weird. And then like, this thing it's got like this flat side on it, which basically when you're refilling it is supposed to kind of recreate the vacuum. Because as it's screwing down, it's kind of like letting the air out or something like that. I don't really know. But that seemed to work well. And that was one of the mistakes that happened when it was leaking, is that I forgot about that whole thing. And I was actually just taking this whole top part off, so then the vacuum wasn't, you know, preserved when everything was put back together. So I think I pretty much figured out why I was doing that. It's just, I'm over it. Like, the sub tank to me was like, the flavor was better. I never had an issue, and I know that sounds crazy because Kayfuns are known for like superior flavor or whatever, or maybe it's just the flavoring was too strong in the Kayfun, because I do like my liquids to be on the kind of more subtle end, so maybe that's why I didn't care for it as much. But I'm just like, oh, I'm over it.